Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci fi show where things can get totally radical. Now, today I will be welcoming yet another member of the Groundlings, and it's been a long time coming. She's finally coming on today. I'm talking about Bridget Sienna. You may remember her. She was the maid on the Red Dot episode of Seinfeld, who George Costanza has sex with in the office. But she was also a member of the Groundlings, like I said. But she was also in teen sex comedy cult classics like Bad Manners, Valet Girls. She was on an episode of Amazing Stories that was directed by Nick Castle, the very first Michael Myers, and I'm having her on the show today to talk about all that stuff. And I can't wait. Like I said, it's been a long time coming. She's a very sweet lady and very funny lady as well. So, yeah, here is my interview with Bridget Sienna.
Hello.
Okay,
Yeah, do you hear me okay?
I hear you perfectly.
Good. Okay. So how you doing?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm fine. I'm just recovering from we just made a trip to Las Vegas um and to see we met my daughter and her husband and my little granddaughter there and saw my nieces and we saw the Cirque du Soleil, the Beatles show, which was fantastic.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was wonderful. So, yeah. So I'm just trying to get back to my routines here.
Yeah, I'm a huge Beatles fan. So
Yeah.
it's such a wonderful honor. Thank you for taking the time finally today.
Oh, yes, and I'm sorry it's been so hard, but I'm glad we can connect.
Awesome. So, going back in time, did you fall in love with performing early on?
Oh, I didn't. I didn't think I was going to be a performer, although I always liked to do funny voices when I was little. And, I was in plays and stuff in high school, but I didn't really think I would be a performer. Um, I actually moved out here. I had a job. I was a journalist, and I was a reporter, and I had a job with KCET, which was then they had an evening news show at 6:30 at night, and I was a reporter on that show. And so I was just working away and getting interviews when I could get them, and I was having a really good time at that station. It was really good people, and um, somebody came in one day. It was a guy. He was visiting another one of the producers. Actually, her name was Lynn Lippman, and she ended up winning the Academy Award for Number Our Days. This is many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was a short film, a documentary.
Mm-hmm.
And he was waiting to see her. I do not remember his name, and we were just chatting. And he said, you're really funny, and you should. There's a comedy theater. It's an improv theater called the Groundlings, and I'd never heard of them. And they're doing auditions tomorrow. They're doing auditions tomorrow, and you should go. And I said, I've only done improv one time in college. We had to do a little improv in our acting. I took one acting class in college, one, just for
Mm-hmm.
fun. And I said, I don't do improv. And he said, well, I would go over there if I were you. So I did. And I got there, and I didn't know anything about the theater itself. And I met with Gary Austin and Tom Maxwell, and there may have been some other people there. I don't remember who. And they gave me some situations and asked me to do some improv, and I was really bad. I was very awkward, but I was funny. I managed to do some funny characters.
Mm-hmm.
And so they said thank you, and then I went to use the ladies' room, which, if you know the Groundlings Theater, it's in the lobby,
Yeah.
and they thought I had left the building. And so I came out of the ladies' room and I was in the lobby, and I heard Gary Austin and Tom Maxwell loudly discussing me. And Gary said, when Tom said, "Well, she can't do improv. I don't know what you do here." You know. And
Mm-hmm.
But and I do kind of look like her. We both have dark curly hair and big brown eyes and all that. But she, and he kept insisting we can teach her, and finally Tom just kind of gave up. He's okay, all right, And so that's how I got into the Groundlings.
Wow. What year was that?
Oh wow, I'm totally bad on years. It was probably 1979 or 1980. At the time, Lorraine Newman had been in the show, and she was already chosen to go on Saturday Night Live.
Right.
She was gone. When I got there, she was already, on the show. So I don't know what year that was. It's so funny that I don't know the year, but it was somewhere in there, like 79 or 80, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Yeah. Who else was there at that time?
When I came,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of my dear friends. In fact, I owe the Groundlings a big debt of gratitude to the dear friends. They're lifelong friends now. But Lynn Stewart was in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Rubens, Vicky Carroll. Oh wow, Tom Maxwell. Of course, well, he was directing a lot by then. And let me think. Phyllis Katz, Suzanne Kent, Cynthia Seghetti, Terry Bolo was in it, and Gloria.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite, Kip King, who I adored and who I loved so much, was in the show. These were very funny, very talented people. Also, Phil Hartman. I'm trying to think. John Paragon. All that crew, and they were just so fun to be with, and I just fell into it. It was really fun, and I loved it. And Don Bovinglow, no, you probably don't know him. He's on the East Coast now, but a dear friend, Don Siegel. Very funny people, fun to hang out with. And so that's how I just joined it and started doing shows and started going to classes, and it was just wonderful. Oddly, after a while of being in some shows, Archie Hahn was there, and of course, my all-time favorite genius, brilliant director, Tracy Newman.
Mm-hmm.
No one has ever directed me as she has. I believe she's a gifted director, and I've had good directors. I've been directed by David Steinberg, and the guy that directed a lot of the Seinfeld episodes. And anyway, she was there. So, and to this day, they're all dear friends. So it's been wonderful. But what was I saying? Oh, I left the Groundlings for a while. A young lady who was very talented was doing stand-up, and she wanted me to partner with her. She was doing a little bit at the Comedy Store and a lot of gay clubs, and she noticed that I did characters, so we did some characters together. And so I left the Groundlings show for a while. And then, my daughter came along, and I got just really busy doing other things. Being in the show is a big commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Big commitment. And I was married, and I had this baby, and so I left it for quite a few years. And I don't know, on a whim, I was having lunch with Tracy Newman and a bunch of our friends. I think it was at my baby shower. She gave me a baby shower, and she said, I'm teaching some classes at the Groundlings again. It might be fun to have you in one of my classes just to show, these kids, characters. You could come and do all your characters and kind of loosen them up. And so I said, okay, I'll come. So I came one night, and I was just totally hooked again. We had a wonderful time. It was all, different people, new people, younger people than I.
Mm-hmm.
And so then, how did this happen? They said, George McGrath and some other great people said, we're voting on people to go into the Sunday show. You don't have to do all these other classes because you've already been a Groundling, but we'd like to include you in the voting. And I said, well, okay, the Sunday show, that might be fun. So I got into the Sunday show. I got voted into the Sunday show and did it for a year, and that was so much fun. Another whole group of dear friends I made from that show. And then it was time to be voted into the main company, and I was voted back in to the main company. But this is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I had started doing a lot of voiceover. I had started writing. I had a child. I was married. And I didn't know if I could commit to the rigors of the regular company again. When you're in that company, you must produce. You must write new material. You must be available every single Friday and Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
You must be available for rehearsals. And as golden of an opportunity as that was, I think I kind of foolishly said, no, I think I need to go on with my life as it is. I had just done a whole year of the Sunday show, and I was a bit, it felt like a huge commitment.
Right.
And I do regret it. I think I could have done some more great stuff there. I think I would have gotten some other great work from doing the show, but at that time in my life, it just didn't feel like the right thing to do. So, but I've remained good friends with all those Groundlings, and I continued to get work from all my friends from the times I was in the Groundlings. So, I mean, including a lot of voiceover work, a lot of what is called looping ADR work,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of cartoons,
Yeah.
a lot of, some other work. In fact, I did the Ladies' Room. I don't know if you ever heard of that play. It was, I think it was later made into a movie, but I did the Ladies' Room because Robin Schiff, who had been there, was a writer
Mm-hmm.
of the Ladies' Room, and we performed it here at the Tiffany, and then we toured, and we went to San Francisco in a big, beautiful theater up there, and did that show, a stage play, and it was so much fun. But yeah, so again, I'm always drawn back into the Groundlings. I love it. I've received really all my blessings as a performer, I believe, from the Groundlings. That's what I feel like.
Yeah. What I love most about the Groundlings and all of the sketch comedy groups from that period is that they were so irreverent and revolutionary in comedy. And I told Terry this when I had lunch with her a couple of months ago, that, I mean, I know you guys did that show years later on the television, but like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought that you guys should have had your own sketch comedy show, during that period, the late 70s, early 80s, because the fact that the Pee Wee Herman show on HBO and the Paragon of Comedy on Showtime are the only recorded documents of that wonderful period of the Groundlings is just so criminal. And the fact that a lot of you, are not in those specials too. It's
Yeah,
just,
you're absolutely right. I was very fortunate. I did several episodes on the television, and again, George McGrath is a genius and a dear friend. Um, brought me into that, and it was so sweet of him. So actually, we do have a lot of. Sorry, I'm just going to ignore that.
yeah.
Hold on, one second.
Okay.
Lala, yes, I'm actually. Can I call you right back? Thank you. All right, sorry.
It's okay.
But yeah, that's a good example of a lot of us did those shows, and oh, they're so wonderful. And George, he's a sweetheart. To this day, whenever it's your birthday, any of us having a birthday,
Mm-hmm.
he'll run one of the shows that we did with him on Facebook.
Nice.
So it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw on YouTube you were doing a character piece where you were looking for a roommate.
Um, from Charlotte Short.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another great thing. I did a project directly from the Groundlings. Tracy Newman's daughter Charlotte wrote it, and Tracy and Charlotte directed me in it. That was so much fun. Yes, it was a lot of fun. If you notice, there was only 3 men, 3 women, and gosh, we did that on and off for about a year. We were at the theater festival with that. That was so much fun. It was, as you see, I mean, a lot of my fun projects that I've done in my life have been from the Groundlings. So it's been that was just sometimes, the universe or God puts you in the right place at the right time, and you just have wonderful gifts from it forever. It's like the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, that made me giggle like a schoolgirl. I love that little piece.
Well, did you? Oh, that was so sweet of you to come. Um, yeah, that was a lot of fun. And Lorraine Newman was in that, and I'm trying to think of a lot of good, great people. We had guest people coming in and out from the Groundlings company that were sort of Sarah Baker. She's not in the Groundlings company, but she came in and out, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people. So, but that's so sweet that you've seen all these things.
Oh yeah, I mean, I am just a comedy historian. I just love comedy so much. In fact, I saw your name on the wall at the Comedy Store, and I didn't even know you did stand up.
I did, and it was as remember that time I told you I left the Groundlings for a while to do stand up.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually getting a lot of bookings at different clubs. I was never, to my mind, I was never great at it because I don't do jokes. I do material I do sort of monologues of these characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I happen to have this character that I based on Marilyn Monroe, and I called her Shelley Shondell, and she sings, and she's the hostess, and then I would bring on myself as other guests, and I would always do this impression of Shelley Winters. It just would always get a great response, and other characters, and it was, Mitzi actually had me touring, and I went to the Comedy Store in La Jolla, and I did
Mm-hmm.
but I was in the belly room, but she also had me in the main room. But stand up is a different animal. It's harder for me to do stand up because it's not a theater. In a theater, I'm
Yeah.
more of an actress, and I think for stand up, you have to be more of a really of a performer of a different kind. And it was always hard for me. I loved it, but I found it. I had to work really, really hard. There again, you're out late at night. You're in a bar situation where drinks and smoking and everything. In those days, they didn't stop you from smoking,
Yeah.
and it got old for me. And I just came home one night, like at 1 o'clock in the morning. I just told my husband, I'm done. I'd like to do something else now. So I just kind of went on to the next thing, which was a lot of voiceover work. So yeah.
Yeah, that was a beautiful period of the Comedy Store. That was during the time of Sam Kinison and Andrew Dice Clay coming up, and that place was just insane. I heard at that time from all the
It
comics I've
was
talked to.
fantastic. And now here's a comedian you may not know because she was she was in another era. I mean, her name was Lotus Weinstock.
Oh yeah.
She was she was quite brilliant. I mean, she was just such a bright, brilliant person, and her comedy was different. It was more philosophical, and definitely she had jokes and everything, but it was just great. She was a thinker. She was just a very,
Yeah.
very wonderful thinker. But yeah, she was another mentor of mine, and she would help me with pieces and so forth. All the women kind of helped each other. So yeah.
Hmm.
But well, you sound like you've been, watching and looking and knowing a lot about the comedy scene in LA.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've been doing stand up 13 years, as an open micer, and I just been interviewing comedians on here, both in sketch and stand up. I'm just so fascinated by that period because, it was a revolution that has gone away, and I just think that stand up is not as good as it used to be. There are some good comedians out there, but they're not quite as special as they were in the 70s and 80s.
I really agree with you. There was just so many truly brilliant writers and performers of stand-up, uh, and I don't. I have to say, I'm really old-fashioned. I really don't like performers who just use the f bomb a lot and a lot of. I don't like you know dirty jokes or anything like that. I don't like sex and all that stuff. It's just rarely. It's just not funny. I like observational stuff, and I like
Hmm.
people who observe. It's funny when I was there. Richard Pryor was already very famous, but he used to come up to the belly room and try out things, and he used to be around, and he was wonderful to watch. He would just try out material and ask us what we thought.
Yeah.
And Robin Williams was there. Yeah, it was a great time to be there.
Yeah, I don't use the F word a whole lot, but I do um, dirty stuff, but I try to make the audience think, you know.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So very good. Yeah. So it's kind of something that's in the past, but it's amazing that you noticed my name was up there.
Oh yeah, and Cynthia Zaghetti's name is up there too.
Yes, yes. And Cynthia used to be there. Cynthia was so funny, and um, she's another really. Here's what I noticed about the Groundlings that I was with. When you're with an improv company, you have to have people who are sharp, who can think on their feet, and they're bright. And they're all very bright. That's what I've noticed about my friends who were at the Groundlings at that time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
So you
So yeah.
so you began acting on TV and doing movies and stuff. You did an episode of Quincy where you played a nurse.
Oh gosh, yes, that was so long ago. Yes, my gosh, yeah, that was a small part. And what's his name? Jack
Klugman.
Klugman? Yeah. Oh, he was something else. He was very funny. He kind of ran the show, more than the director. He kind of did what he wanted. But yeah, that was very soon after I moved out here from Minnesota. So I was kind of timid. I was, oh my gosh, I'm doing television now, and it was, you know, it happened very fast for me when I started working.
hmm
Again, I think because of the Groundlings, not all for the Groundlings. I did a play. I did this play with some other writers who are also improv actors from Harvey Lembeck's. And we worked on this darn thing for a whole year, and then we opened it. And I remember the opening night, I didn't know anything about agents. I didn't have an agent yet.
hmm
Joan Scott from Writers and Artists was in the audience, and she came up to me afterwards, and she said, "Can I meet you over here, just down the street? Could we have a drink? And I have one of my assistants with me, and I'd like to talk with you." So I did, and then we talked a little, and she said, "I'd like you to come into the office sometime next week." And she signed me, and it was a big agency at the time, and I was very flattered. I didn't know how big she was at the time. I had no idea. People told me later, but
Right.
um, yeah, she was actually my first agent. She was a big agent. Um, and then, yeah, I was just, again, I did one play in Minnesota after I graduated college. One play, that was it, just for fun. So it wasn't something I was heading into doing, But
hmm
once I started doing it, it was so fun. And, that I guess I committed and stayed in it. It's not an easy life to be in the arts, to be in the entertainment field, and to carry on with a regular life, because
Yeah.
your work is sometimes great, you have a lot of it, and then you go for many months with nothing, and then it gets great again, and so it teaches you to save your money when you're earning it,
hmm
and my husband is also a writer. He was a television writer. He wrote a lot of episodes, a lot of action and mystery, and his last gig was Murder, She Wrote.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And so we both, uh, when we worked, we would squirrel away our money, and I always say, residuals bought our house. And so,
Yeah.
you just have to be very frugal with yourself when you're working, and be careful, and just save your money when you're earning it. That's advice that I give to any young performer or anybody, is to
Oh yeah.
save money any way you can when you're earning it.
Oh yes, absolutely. You never know when it can go away.
That's right. So,
I I think it's
yeah.
I think it's funny you were on an episode of Saint Elsewhere because Terry played a prostitute on an episode of Saint Elsewhere.
Oh, really? Yeah, and I didn't
Yeah.
know that. Um, St. Elsewhere, I think that's where I had. What did I do on that show? I think I played. There was a long time during that time where I was always playing a pregnant woman giving birth or a hooker.
Yeah.
And St. Elsewhere, I think I was having a baby on that show. Yes, yes. And that's another thing. I was always being cast as Hispanic, which I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm half Mexican, but I was a comedian, and so there wasn't a lot of parts for Hispanic comedians, and it was very frustrating for me because people would see me on stage and love my talent, but when they brought me in, I would never be chosen to do the episode. And I remember one casting director, and I don't remember who this was, and she said, "Oh, I had just done the reading for the producers, and I thought it went really well." And she said, she called me the next day. She felt so bad I didn't get it. And she said, "Oh, if only you looked more Jewish." No, because it's true. I do characters that usually you would think of a Jewish comedian doing things, and I didn't fit, into that mold.
Yeah.
So now there's a lot more Hispanic casting than there ever was when I was younger.
Oh yeah.
So it was kind of restrictive, and the only times I got roles not playing a Hispanic were when friends or casting people or someone on the show would just call me in to do the part, and it would just be a non-ethnic, just a character on the show. But it was very restrictive for me, and I did a lot of commercials. But it was very disappointing to me because there were so many things I would have liked to have done that I just wasn't brought in for the auditions because I just didn't look the part. I wasn't. There's a type that they want, and usually blonde, or usually kind of a female charactery, like a real charactery looking actress, which I'm not. I'm not particularly look like a character, and so that was, I have to say that's the only time in my life I've ever experienced discrimination was from casting directors and producers who didn't cast me in comedies. In those days. Now it's different, but yeah. But I never experienced any discrimination in any other part of my life ever.
Oh, that's good.
So, yeah.
One of my earliest memories of you was when you were the housemaid in the teen sex comedy Bad Manners.
Oh yes. See, that's what I told you. I was the maid a lot, and I was a hooker, or I was having a baby. Those were my three big, but yeah, that one, they changed the title a couple of times. So
Yep.
it used to be called something else, that show.
Growing Pains.
Growing Pains, yeah, I think that was it. Yeah.
Before the show. Yeah. Yeah, it's got a great cast. Martin Mull, Karen Black, Pamela Adlon when she was Pamela Siegel, uh, Kimmy Robertson, who I met a couple years ago. Very funny.
Kimmy and I did the ladies' room, that play I told you about. We did it. There was three waitresses in that play, and it was Kimmy and I and another actress. Um, Blanking on her name right now. But yeah, we had a lot of fun. Kimmy and I had pictures. I have pictures of us doing that play together. It was a lot of fun. She still works as a commercial. She's always done a lot of commercials, and she's still doing them.
Oh yeah, she does.
Great.
Yeah, and she just did that that Twin Peaks reboot too.
Oh, did she? Okay, yeah, I didn't see it. My youngest daughter's a big fan of Twin Peaks.
Me too.
Yeah.
And DeSalvo was in it too. I just reached out to her recently. I hope I hear back from her.
Oh, good. Yes, I remember her. Well, how has this been with reaching out to actresses and actors?
Oh, it's been very good for me. I'm almost coming up on 500 interviews.
Oh, my goodness. And yeah, how wonderful that you thought of this idea.
Yeah, I mean, I had gotten the idea, 3 years ago after, spending a year recovering from my accident. And then, I had to wait until my mother and I got an apartment again because we were living in our car for a while. And then once I did, I started this, and I've been very lucky.
Well, good for you. And where do you live right now? What part of the city or area?
I'm in Redding, California,
Oh,
but
you're in Redding. Okay.
yeah, we're working on getting to Los Angeles.
Yeah, well, the rents here are very, very tough. They're
Yeah.
very, very tough rents here, and I think a lot of people have moved up where you are. I mean, they just couldn't handle it here anymore.
Yeah, we wanted to move here 18 years ago. I mean, we thought it was expensive then.
Yeah, yeah. Well, are you an only child, or are there other
I have
siblings?
an older brother.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's you and your mom. You're living with your mom.
Yeah, well, he's staying with us right now at the moment because he's having a problem with alcoholism, but he's getting better.
Okay, good. All right. Well, that sounds very nice. I'm sure your mom is a wonderful lady, and
Oh yes.
happy to have you with her.
Oh, she's the best. I'm
Oh,
very lucky with that.
yes,
And,
you are.
and then you did Valet Girls.
Yes, and that was one of my. I think I got my SAG card with that. That was one of my earliest movies. Again, from the Groundlings. How was it? Somebody in the production staff saw me in a Groundling show and said, "Oh, why don't you come? We want to read a couple of girls to play." And I was one of the girls that was Parks Cars, one of the Valet Girls at Parks Cars. That was another funny one. That was.
Yeah, you had Rafal Zelinsky directing. I mean, he directed a lot of funny sex comedies during that time.
Yes, and this one was too, and it was a lot of fun to do that. We had a lot of yucks on the on the set.
Hmm.
It was a lot of fun, and yeah, one of my I think my very earliest television gig with the Groundlings was, you don't remember Regis Philbin, but
Of course I
had
do.
okay, he had a morning show which he had for years and years here, and I forget who the guest hostess was, but it was a Christmas show, and the casting people there wanted to have a little sketch with Santa and Mrs. Claus and one of the elves. And so I played one of the elves. And the the reason it's memorable is they showed up. They said, "We're going to get you real early in the morning." And I believe they did come at 6:30 in the morning. Maybe it was a quarter of 7. And they picked us all up in a limo.
Hmm.
And in this limo was um, a little refrigerator that had pre-mixed drinks in it, and ice, and it had cocktail glasses and snacks, and it was like a little party.
Yeah.
So Don Bovinglow, my friend I mentioned earlier, he was playing Santa, and Edie McClurg was playing Mrs. Claus.
Yep.
And so Don, who loves to be a hostess, and he's a great cook and a bartender himself, so he said, "What can I get you? Would you like a gin and tonic or a Mai Tai?" And it was really early in the morning. And I just thought this was such a gas. I said, "I'll have a Mai Tai." And Gary Austin was along too. He was going to direct us in the scene. Okay, so Gary was having a drink. I don't know what he had chose, and I had a Mai Tai, and Don Bovinglow had a gin and tonic. And I'll never forget Edie McClurg saying, "Well, look at you three. I'm not going to be drinking because I'm going over my lines, which is what you all should be doing. But you're not. You're being irresponsible. So I'm just going to sit myself over here, and you can sit over there and have your little party."
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
That was so funny. And she thought she would shame us into, because she wanted to run lines,
Yeah.
and none of us wanted to run lines, and we were just so. And I do think when we got there, we were so loosey goosey and relaxed and in a party mood. We did great, but Edie was a little bit zipped up. She was a little bit not as relaxed. But
Yeah.
Don and I were great. We were funny, and Regis loved us, and he wanted us back. And he had it. He did. He brought us back for another gig some months later on the show. But it was a lot of fun. And I just remember, wow, Hollywood is fun. They pick you up in a limo at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you can have drinks.
Yeah. Yeah, Edie McClurg, she's a genius.
She is. She really is.
Were were you there when Cassandra Peterson was there?
We weren't in shows together, but I do know Cassandra, and I was there when she was. I was kind of just leaving as she was performing, but I love her. I think she's a doll, and just a lovely, lovely person. Um, behind that character, she's just a sweet person. But
Yeah.
yes, I was there. I do know her, and there's a lot of people I'm forgetting, the friends of mine that I know from there, but um, a lot of nice, very, very good, genuinely nice people from the Groundlings.
Yeah, every time I want to meet her at a convention, the line is out the door, and I never
Oh,
get to.
yes, yes, yes. It surely is. She created something wonderful for herself, that character.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And she was a hired gun too, ironically.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, they were looking for a horror host at that UHF station in L.A., and so she went over there as that character. She created that character, and they said, "Yes, that's what we want."
Oh, great. I didn't know that story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, have you interviewed her?
No, I reached out to her just recently through the guy who runs her website, and so fingers and toes crossed on that.
Okay. Well, good. I didn't know she had her own. I suppose she would have her own website.
Oh yes. So
Ah.
you did a great episode of Amazing Stories.
I can barely remember that. I think that was about some sort of someone seeing an angel or something.
Yeah, the 21-inch sun.
Oh, oh, yes, yes. Yeah, I had this tiny son, and but there was an angel involved in that script too, and that was I forget who was on that show.
Robert Townsend.
Robert Townsend, yeah, and I forget who played my son. But it was, yeah, that was a very early. That was kind of a long time ago. Um, I just remember people being so kind and nice, and um, another actor, not my son, but another actor was really having trouble with his lines. He was really, when you miss a line or you forget it and you go up on your line, sometimes you just can't go back and get it. It's just like it keeps coming out wrong, and
Hmm.
that's what was happening to him. He was very nervous, and every time he tried to say the line, it was coming out a different way, not like it was on the script. And he was so nervous, and I remember that there was just a very, very nice, she was a costumer, and she, of all people, she just calmed him down. She just talked to him for a minute, but he was truly losing it. I mean, some people just you get nervous and you can't get yourself calm again, and that was his problem. He just couldn't get the line out.
Hmm.
They ended up, well, he calmed down and they let him do just two words, and then they gave the line to me. And of course, I was so nervous that I would forget it too, but it worked out.
Yeah, Nick Castle directed. He played the first Michael Myers in the first Halloween movie.
Yes, yes. Nick Castle and his wife was Charlene. Charlene was in the Groundlings.
Oh,
Charlene Nelson is his wife. Very, very funny. And Nick is a very talented director. So, yeah, I remember all of it's all coming back now.
yeah,
Huh.
I almost met him at a convention once. He had a long line too.
Okay, well, yeah, I don't know what he's doing. I believe he's still directing, isn't he?
I don't know that, but I know he does conventions.
Okay.
Because he played Michael Myers. Stuff. Did you provide a voice for someone in Rain Man?
Oh, for several people. Okay, the director of that was, what is his name? It might be on my crime check.
Barry Levinson.
Barry Levinson. A lot of our scenes, I was what is called an ADR, looping actress for that, where you play many parts. You know what a looper is. You go in and revoice some actresses.
Right.
You furnish um, atmosphere, conversations that to fill in a scene. And what he wanted was there was a couple of scenes it was kind of in an insane asylum, right? Insane
Hmm.
asylum. And he wanted all the people to be in this discussion, and then they get very agitated and very crying and screaming and hysterical. But they had to have this conversation first. And there's where my Groundlings training really came in. He said, there was a whole group of us doing the voiceovers on that show that day. And he said, I want all the Groundlings or anyone who's good at improvisation, because I need you to improvise a whole scene leading up to two lines that Jack Nicholson was going to say. But it has to be sustained, and it's not just a few seconds. It was like a minute long. And so I improvised. We all improvised these lines from these various people who were in the asylum, I played various women. I even played a guy in that, too. And we did such a good job, he gave us screen credit because we improvised so well on it. These are the days, well, when you did ADR, they didn't always give you a screen credit. He gave me a screen credit.
Nice.
Yeah, it was very, because we came up with a lot of dialogue that he used in the movies, and he didn't have to hire a writer.
A lot of people call me Rain Man because I just have so much knowledge for, movies and stuff.
Really? Oh, you're one of those who can just remember all this knowledge. I have a friend like you, too. It's wonderful. You can.
Yeah.
So,
It's definitely a gift. I consider it a gift.
I would think so.
And then, of course, my favorite role is the maid on the Seinfeld episode, The Red Dot.
Yes. Yes. And that is a gift that has continued to keep on giving. I just today got another residual. The residuals have tapered down. It was many years ago now, 20 years ago or something. But they've tapered way down. But because it's still running it, not just in syndication, it runs on the internet now. It's always running. So oddly, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, this just happened. I walk into Walgreens and this woman ahead of me in line turns around and she says, "Oh, I just saw your Seinfeld. You're so good in that." So because it's constantly rebroadcasting, it's fresh and new in people's minds, and they love it. They love having just seen you because these shows have been rerun. I swear, continuously for the last 20 years, really. So people just see you, and then they see you in the store. It happens to me a lot, actually. So that television show just kind of never goes away, and that's really fun.
Yeah, he's really turned it into an empire for himself, and
Truly.
that episode is just so damn funny, and it's one of the earliest ones too, and I mean, I love it because just like George and Jerry, I've always had that fantasy of making it with a Latina maid.
I know. Oh, and let me tell you something about oh God, who plays George?
Jason Alexander.
Jason. Okay, we had our scene. Oh, there's a lot of stories about that Seinfeld episode. First of all,
Go ahead.
I was with writers and artists at the time. They did get me the audition. When I did the audition, it was so good. I mean, it was just a great experience. I remember Jerry Seinfeld, was sitting on the edge of a sofa that didn't have an arm, and he pretended to fall off the sofa laughing at me. He didn't really fall off, but he pretended that he was laughing so hard. I met George Shapiro. I met all the producers of that. Everyone was wonderful. I walked out of there thinking, wow, I just booked this. I really think I booked this. So I went home, didn't hear anything. Got up the next day, didn't hear anything. And then I thought, well, after a couple of days on episodics, you usually hear right away if you get the part. Never heard anything, so I said, oh, well, I guess I didn't get it. I was very disappointed because I had such fun at that audition. So a week later, truly a week later, I'm just, I usually get up very early. Then my daughter was like a toddler or something. But I didn't get up early that morning. For some reason, I was sleeping in late. And it was 9 o'clock. And I will never forget, the phone rings, and I answered the phone. They said, is this Bridget? And I said, yes. And he said, this is George Shapiro from the Seinfeld show. I said, wow, hi. And he said, where are you? We're doing the table read. We're waiting for you. And I said, I got the job. And he said, yes. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. My agent never told me. And they were really kind of, what? But I said, look, we're in luck. They did it at CBS Radford. That's where they filmed. And I live very close to Studio City. It's literally like an 8-minute drive from my house. And he said, well, how soon can you get here? And I said, well, let me just jump in the shower, and I can be there in, like 25 minutes. And he said, we'll be waiting for you. So I literally shower. I raced over there, and I came in. Of course, I'm like all out of breath, and I'm kind of nervous and self-conscious that I'm late. And I will never forget this. George Shapiro and Jerry Seinfeld came up to me, put their arms around my shoulders, walked me into the room, and Jerry said, "This is Bridget Sienna, and we're lucky to have her." I will never forget that moment. It was so lovely. They totally put me at ease. They could see I was a nervous wreck, because I'm coming in late. And this is Bridget Sienna. We're lucky to have her. I'll never forget it. It was so fun. And the filming was equally lovely. Jason is such a good improviser himself. And we ran, so the first day you do the table read, and that's all fine. And everybody, you do your costume fittings, then you go home. So the second day, you start working out, the bits. And I don't know how this got into me or what I said or something. And I said, I have a feeling about this line. Could I just add one little thing here? And I asked the, what is his name, who wrote all the Seinfeld episodes? He's got his own show now.
Larry David.
Yeah, Larry David. He was then directing the episodes, and he was writing them. And I was talking to Jason first. I said, could I just add, I added something about the cashmere line, and then after that, I started calling him Georgie Porgy.
Yeah.
Can I call you Georgie Porgy? And so he said, great, and we took it to, everybody concerned, and we started improvising, Jason and I. So the lines that I actually do, some of them are improvised, and I just thought, wow, they're so open to people changing the script. How nice. They don't have big egos. And I think we made the scene funnier, So they actually retyped, our little improv bit and changed the scene a little, and that's what you end up seeing on the screen. Yeah.
Yeah, I just love it when he says, when George says to Jerry that they drank scotch and he threw it up, and then Jerry says, "Good thing the clean lady was there."
Yeah, it was just so funny. The whole that particular script I thought was very funny because it just showed George up, and he was always doing the wrong thing, and he thought he was going to buy me off with that sweater that had a defect on it.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I made friends with the writers, and we were talking, during the week. You're there for a whole week. And there was talk while I was there of he gets fired from that job and then goes to another job, and I show up there as a cleaning lady, too.
Yeah.
That's what they were going to do. But they didn't. They never wrote me, and it didn't work out. But I would have loved to have done a second one. But I feel like it felt like a big episode of my life because it was such a popular show, because so many people know me from that show. And at the end of the season, this is what they do. They're so nice. They give all the guest performers, they give a big party, like a wrap party for the season, and they invite all the guest performers. And I think ours was downtown at some big hotel, like the Four Seasons, but it wasn't the Four Seasons. It was so lovely. It was just really, I thought, wow, they really know how to treat their guest performers,
Yeah.
So it was a great, I have nothing but good to say about Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was in my early 20s, I lived in an apartment complex with my dad, and there was a lot of Latina housemaids there, but very few of them spoke English.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
did it get to a point where you couldn't get any roles other than playing stereotypical roles, that you decided that you were going to work with children?
Well, it didn't happen exactly like that, but I did get frustrated, and I did get frustrated with, I told them I would never read for, such a negative stereotype, like someone who was ignorant or someone who was, and I'm not fluent in Spanish. I have a very good accent, but I'm not totally fluent. So I didn't get those roles either, and I've lost a lot of work for not being more fluent than I am. I did get some, and I did, some commercials in Spanish, voiceovers, and on camera. And but no, it wasn't that. It was just that I guess by the time I had two children, a lot of my work was devoted to them.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to hustle in this business. You just can't sit still. I just fell into the looping and the doing the voiceover and animation. Again, I got an agent so easily, and I think because I was a groundling, and I started doing that and kind of enjoying it more because you don't have to put all your makeup on and show up looking perfect, and you're kind of in and out quickly for voiceover,
Mm-hmm.
and I enjoyed that about it. So I kind of went to that direction. I regret it now because I let writers and artists saw that I wasn't going. You have to be available, go out to every audition if they want you to, and I just got tired of it. I didn't want to go on an audition if I didn't think I was going to get it, and I was already having a gig that day, a voiceover gig. So I got kind of lazy, and we parted ways. And I did get another agent, but she was never very good. She was never as good. And then, so then I was doing voiceover, and then that also, you have to really hustle yourself in the voiceover world. And I do think, I know that I am talented, and I did Shrek, and I did a lot of animation and movies.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did several small roles in Shrek, like the old lady who sells the donkey at the very beginning, who sells Eddie Murphy. I did her voice, and it's so funny. When I look back on that, it doesn't even sound like me, but the director had me do 8 different takes, and so that's why I don't recognize it as me. I think that was like, the 7th or 8th. But I played a lot of minor roles in that. I played Fiona's girlfriends at the wedding, tittering, and there's a lot of singing in that where the townspeople all sing. And so they added my voice and some other actors who are not professional singers to the track so it would sound less, professional, so it would sound like real people. And I played some little elves, some little men in that one. I played little fighting elves, the townspeople. It was so much fun. That was a lot of fun, and that was a magnificent residual, my first residual. I won't tell you the amount. It was shocking. It was wonderful. And I remember we took that, we bought a new car, and we made some repairs on our house, and we took a big vacation. And I still had money saved. I still saved some wonderful residuals. Can be very wonderful for actors. It can help you so much through times, that you may not be working. So,
oh, yeah.
I do remember fondly that one, and that one also replayed a lot for years and years. So, yeah.
So now you work with children.
Yes. Now I still do voiceover, and I still do on camera. Not so much. I did something called, I think it was called Mood Swings. It's for the Christian Network. I did that last December, and I do voiceover. I do still working on small parts on film and some syndicated things, animation, and occasionally a couple of just regular old commercials at doing voiceover. But I do also, I'm a substitute teacher because I have a teaching credential in English, and I teach a lot of ESL history and AP English. So that's also what I do. But it's a part-time job. I don't do it every day. So I'm still kind of doing everything, I'm actually just finished up another voiceover reel, and I'm going to send it out to see if I can get a new voiceover agent, because a lot of the work I'm getting myself. You do have to hustle yourself.
Yeah.
I've gotten a lot of work myself. But now I'm thinking, I'm going to send my tape out and have somebody else work for me. So that's my plan.
Yeah. People tell me I should do voiceover stuff.
Well, it's a very fun avenue. It's very competitive, though.
Of course.
I think as a man, you'd have better luck. There's far fewer voices for women, and the same women seem to get the same jobs over and over again. So it's kind of hard to break in. I'm breaking in all over again. I used to work a lot. I will tell you, I used to work a lot doing voiceover. but again, if you don't keep up the hustle, some of my old bosses retire or they move on or they do something else, and then you gotta hustle up new contacts all over again. So I will do that, and I am doing that. Yeah.
That is awesome. You've had such a blessed life.
I really have. I have a lot of blessings. I feel very fortunate and good friends, and have had some neat, interesting work, and my children. I have two grown daughters who are wonderful, and now I have a little granddaughter. She's only 4 months old. She's adorable, and a good husband, and life is good.
Mm-hmm. Now comes the fun part of the show, Bridget. There's a game that I like to play with guests every once in a while. How it works is I I ask you a question, you answer it, and then you ask me the same question, and I answer it.
Oh, okay.
It's
All
four.
right.
It's four silly questions.
Okay.
Bridget, are you ticklish?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I haven't been tickled for a long time. So, Tommy, are you ticklish?
Oh, I am baby ticklish. Yes.
Oh dear. Well, that's hard to be as a grown
Yes.
man if you're baby ticklish.
Yes. Um, what is your favorite part of the body?
oh, that is a good one. I guess my favorite part to look at in other people are just I always like to look at people's eyes. I find eyes tell you a lot about a person. I like all different kinds of. I love beautiful eyes. I love, long eyelashes, and I love dark eyes and blue eyes and expressive eyes. So that's my favorite part. So what is your favorite part?
I have always loved the belly button.
Okay. All right. Have
Yes.
you contemplated your belly button for a long time?
Oh, a lot, yes. Because I have a very adorable belly button.
Okay, I'm going to take your word for that.
And I agree with what you say about the eyes, though. I think I have pretty eyes.
Oh, well, I'd love to meet you someday and see them in person.
Oh yes, they just light up.
Oh, good.
um, what color are your toenails painted?
Oh, well, right now it's a kind of a pinkish flesh color because I don't like red and green and black and all those colors for your nails. I just find them awful. So mine is a very natural color. It looks, it's like a skin tone color,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I prefer. It's so funny because my daughter just asked me, she said, Mom, she just came home from college and she wanted to borrow. She said, do you have any nail polish? And I said, well, honey, I don't have the colors you like. I have all just kind of neutral tones, and they're pink and tan and like that. And but that's what I like. So, what what color are your toenails painted?
They are not painted at the moment, but when I was in LA back in April for a week, they were blue-green because Easter was coming.
I see. Yes. Yeah.
And now here's my favorite question: is there a stinky smell that makes you gag?
Oh, I don't get sick and gag and get sick to my stomach easily. So no, I've had endured all kinds of smells. I brought up babies and everything like that, but I don't. I don't. Things don't make me sick like that. I always am able to just get through it. So how about you? Same question.
Um, when I got out of the hospital from my accident, I had very bad athlete's foot for about 6 months, and that was the worst.
Oh, that was, yeah. And was it caused by the accident, or what was it caused by?
Oh no! Well, my leg was broken in 7 places, and I didn't have to wear a cast or anything, but um, I just had to have it in traction and everything. But I wore socks. I wore these socks for like a month, and they never changed them. I didn't give the nurses in recovery a very good reason to like me because I was on so much medication. I was very grumpy a lot of the time. They just
Oh,
didn't want to like go near me, and so like when I got out of the hospital, I took them off, and my feet were all black and smelly, and it was bad.
oh dear. Where were you in the hospital, down here or up in Reading?
In San Francisco, where I'm originally from.
Okay. Oh, well, I'm sorry you had to go through that. That sounded very painful and
It,
scary.
I'm lucky to be alive and talking to you right now because they just predicted I was going to be gone within 24 hours, and I spent 30 days in a coma.
Oh my gosh. Were you driving the car or what happened?
I was a passenger. I'd been in the car. I fell asleep, and then the driver, he fell asleep, and then we ended up in the middle of the road. We got out okay, but then a car collided with ours, and then the impact hit us.
Oh, so you got out of the car. Did a car hit you or it drove the car into you?
The car hit our car, and then the impact of it hit us. I don't even remember because I blacked out from alcohol.
Oh my gosh. This is a very serious accident.
Yeah.
And you were the whole time you were in the coma. Do you remember anything from that?
I just remember sitting there and thinking, what, just laying there and just thinking, why am I not, waking up and stuff? And there was a lot of like surreal dreams that seemed real, especially when I woke up from it. I had all these weird delusions and dreams that seemed so real to me that weren't there, and there was a lot of paranoia from the anesthesia. I was like paranoid that a couple of the nurses were trying to kill me, like the first
Mm.
couple of weeks I was out. But in the coma itself, yeah, I don't remember much other than why am I not waking up, and it felt like I was like getting up every day and doing my normal routine. It was just weird.
Okay, so did you know you were in a coma? Did you know you were asleep? What did you what was your feeling about the whole thing? You just
I
kind
just
of were laying there, but you knew you were not conscious, or how did that?
Yeah, I felt like I wasn't conscious, like I was just sleeping and I wasn't waking up. I didn't know that I was in a coma.
Mm.
And when I woke up, I didn't even think it was 2015. I thought it was 2016. They asked me, what the date was and stuff, and I was like, I can't tell you. I've only been awake for a short time.
Oh, wow, that just must have been quite traumatic.
Hmm. Yeah,
You know, I'm just so sorry you had to go through that.
yeah.
But yeah, well, I'm glad you're here and you made it through, and you're doing your podcast, and you're doing. Sounds like you're doing well, living with mom, and you still thinking you might want to move down here someday?
Of course, because I've met some wonderful people doing this podcast, and they all you know want to be around me and eventually work with me and stuff, and it's I put it all in God's hands.
Well, good. Well, I hope you do. I hope you do get to come back down here and work and do what you'd like and really have a full experience. But meanwhile, I mean, congratulations that you're doing these podcasts.
Oh, thank you. The best is yet to come.
Yes, yes.
Well, Bridget, I thank you so much for coming on today. I'm so glad we finally got to do this.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you for being patient and not giving up. And you know, I'm glad that we did get to find a time. It's been a busy year, but it's really. And someday, if you come down, look me up, and we'll meet each other.
That would be wonderful. Yes, and I never give up. And so many people, I think, respect me because I never give up. I'm always persistent.
Good. Well, that's what it takes. Yes, you are. You are persistent. It's really fun to do the interview with
Thank you so much, Bridget, and I hope you feel better, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
I sure will. You too, Tommy.
You
Okay?
okay?
Alrighty.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Well, there you have it, Bridget Sienna. Ain't she a sweetheart? Yes, she is, and I'm so glad we finally got to have that interview. Very deep, thoughtful, insightful woman, and funny. Very funny lady. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, add me as a friend on Facebook, join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes!